I'm happy to be back in Geneva. We come every year at this time, the very beginning of October, for the annual meeting of the Executive Committee of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. And that's a gathering of those governments that are most concerned with the work of the UN Refugee Agency. People come from all over the world, and they all share a deep concern about refugees and displaced people. And even if they're working in different continents, in different hemispheres, they have a common desire to help. Donor governments like mine, the United States, that provide funding to UNHCR, and also those governments that host refugees and do so much to save lives around the world. Earlier this year, UNHCR informed us that over 50 million people are displaced on Earth, and that's the highest number since World War II. And we're very concerned that the aid that generous governments give is being stretched thinner and thinner to reach more and more people. And so we all have to give more, and we also have to find governments that haven't been traditional aid donors to come and also contribute. For 3.5 years now, we've been concerned about the Syria crisis, which has become a regional crisis in the Middle East. It's affecting all of the neighboring countries, including Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon. But that's not the only place on earth suffering right now. We see South Sudan, which is a very young country, is having a serious conflict inside that is forcing people to flee. Central African Republic is also having a displacement crisis that sends refugees into neighboring countries. And there are a number of long-term crises in West Africa, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, Somalia. Last year, the first day had been dedicated to the Syria crisis, and this year we're spending a day, really a day and a half, focused on some of the major crises and the long-term protracted situations, refugee situations in Africa. Today, I am happy to announce that the U.S. government is committing nearly $83 million in additional funding to aid refugees and conflict victims in South Sudan and South Sudanese refugees in neighboring countries. This brings the United States government's total humanitarian assistance to Africa this fiscal year to nearly $2.8 billion. The U.S. is a top aid donor to nearly every crisis. We're the #1 donor to the UN Refugee Agency, and our sister agency, the U.S. Agency for International Development, is the #1 donor to the World Food Program. We also fund UNICEF, the UN Population Fund, and many other of the UN agencies that are in the front lines of responding to crises around the world. We're very fortunate because we have bipartisan support from Congress to fund our budgets. So even though we've been asking for more money in recent years because of the large number of crises, we actually have gotten bigger budgets out of Congress, and we're tremendously grateful for that. We also have American citizens who provide funding through private philanthropy, and that is also something that we appreciate very much. Many people think that humanitarian aid is for food, water, shelter, and of course it is, but it has to do more than that. It also has to protect the people who are fleeing. And one of my top concerns has been that in chaotic situations, as refugees are fleeing, women and girls can be preyed upon and exploited. One of the priorities that I've been working with Secretary Kerry on is to try to get assistance to women and girls in the very onset of emergencies, so that the violence against women and girls that has characterized other crises can be prevented. And that way we don't have to worry so much about helping them after the fact, because we prevent it from happening in the first place. And Secretary Kerry feels very strongly about this. He's launched an initiative called Safe from the Start, and both last year in September and this year in September he's announced funding for it. So far we have $22 million that's being used to get experts on the ground early during emergencies to protect women and girls. I think that Americans sometimes don't realize that when their tax dollars, a small, tiny percentage of that goes to these humanitarian causes, and it converts into major changes in helping people overseas and in helping them, saving lives and making a difference. And it's something that, if they know about it, I think they'd support it because it shows our generosity and our tradition of helping people.